The House of Representatives summoned the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Timi Silva, Executive Chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, Mohamed Nami, and other major stakeholders in the oil and gas industry to give account on the petroleum product subsidy regime from 2017 to 2021. This is sequel to the absence of key players in the investigative hearing organized by the House Special Ad Hoc Committee on Petroleum Product Subsidy Regime. Major stakeholders who were to give accounts shunned the investigative hearing and sent representatives without a letter of authorization, but the lawmakers rejected and insisted they must appear unfailingly on Wednesday, the 27th of July 2022. Declaring open the investigative hearing, Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Ahmed Idris Wase, expressed disappointment over the absence of those in authority who were expected to come and give account of what they have done to Nigerians. He urged members of the committee to discharge their duties without intimidation but with fear of God.
It gives me great pleasure on behalf of the honorable members of the Special Ad Hoc Committee to welcome you to the formal inauguration of the Special Ad Hoc Committee on the Investigation of Petroleum Products Subsidy Regime in Nigeria from 2017 to 2021 by the Honorable Speaker of the House of Representatives, Right Honorable Femi Bajabiamila, ably represented by the Right Honorable Deputy Speaker, Honorable Ahmed Idris Wase. The Special Ad Hoc Committee, which was set up on Wednesday, the 29th June 2022 by the Honorable Speaker, was necessitated by the ardent need to, among others, investigate the following. 1. Yearly domestic consumption of petroleum products from 2017 to 2021. Crude oil lifted from 2017 to 2021. Petroleum product imported into the country from 2017 to 2021, proceeds from domestic crude oil remittance to FAC, approval or approved oil marketers involved in the direct sales, direct purchase DSDP scheme of NNPC, subsidiary liabilities from 2017 to 2021 and how they are paid, payments made from funds meant for subsidy payments, borrowing from Federal Inland Revenue Service from the DSDP scheme, and non-remittance of royalties to the Department of Petroleum Resources. Companies that defaulted under the DSDP scheme from 2017 to 2021, scheme of domestic crude oil purchase from the Federation from 2017 to 2021, indicating quantity, values in US dollar and Naira equivalent, any other information that may be considered relevant to assist in the discharge of this onerous assignment. Make appropriate recommendation to the House. As we all know, the legislature is empowered by the Constitution as part of its oversight functions to carry out investigations to any matter and make appropriate recommendations that will address such matter. Therefore, the event we are witnessing today is one of the traditions of the legislature as well as the other arms of government, where committees are usually inaugurated preparatory to the commencement of their work. This event, therefore, kickstarts the proper investigation work on the issues enumerated above. It is also important to reiterate at this point that the setting up of this ad hoc committee is in tandem with the provision of the House Standing Order 18, Rule 115, and relevant sections of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended, which empower the legislature to conduct investigation into the affairs of any person, authority, ministry, or government department charged or intended to be charged with duty or responsibility of any matter affecting any sector or section of this country. The investigation will therefore further complement and reinvigorate government effort in unraveling the problems bedeviling the sector, most especially the controversy or the controversial subsidy on petroleum products and come up with workable, permanent and sustainable solutions that will address the matter and open a new vista for the sector and the country at large. There is no doubt that the oil and gas sector is the major source of revenue for the country. It is also on record that the inability of the government over the years to resuscitate the comatose state of the sector to start local refining in order to reduce to bearable minimum the stop and stop importation of petroleum products may not be unconnected with some unpatriotic and unscrupulous element within the country with the active connivance of some desperate foreign countries and expatriates undermining any effort in order to continue their old ways. The failure to refine locally and a bid to ensure adequate supply of petroleum products at affordable price in the country to satisfy the daily demands for the product that past and present administration has been making provisions for subsidy on each liter of the petroleum product imported. This good gesture was, however, believed by many Nigerians to have been abused by the operators and actors involved in the process, thereby creating hope and cry among the populace. The petroleum product subsidy regime has not only been a subject of controversy between the government and oil companies, but has derailed economic growth and development, hence created untold hardship in the country, which is what this committee is to uncover. This unhealthy development is a tragedy that must be stopped and the perpetrators brought to book if we are to make the sector attractive to compete favorably with the rest of its members or member country. In view of the foregoing, and as one of the arms of government vested with the responsibility of representation, lawmaking and oversight functions for the good governance of the country and common man, we cannot fold our hands or arms and watch this unfortunate act continue to prevail, especially with the current shortages and hike in prices of petroleum products being experienced across the country and world over, despite the subsidy regime. It is also imperative to emphasize that no country can sit and watch this unwholesome situation to continue without taking a deliberate measure to stop the menace. In this regard, therefore, one of the measures is to get the accurate record and data of all the companies or individuals involved, determine the total liters of crude oil exported and petroleum product imported, and determine how much have been paid on same, and come out with the actual record to ascertain if they are operating within the ambit of the law and in line with the set guidelines. This, we believe, will ensure transparency, accountability, adherence to process, as well as proper management of the country's resources. Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me assure you that as members of the ad hoc committee, we owe it a duty to discharge this responsibility with honesty and faithfulness. We are not unaware of the gravity of this assignment with its attendant consequences. We therefore pledge to leave no stone unturned to get to the root and causes of this problem. We will do our utmost best and use everything at our disposal within our mandate to carry out the assignment diligently, sincerely, and with all the dedication it deserves. No amount of intimidation or frustration will deviate us from doing what we think is right, because the thought now should be Nigeria first. May I, at this juncture, therefore, use this medium to call on all the relevant parties, the oil companies, individuals or government agencies to give this committee maximum cooperation it requires for the successful accomplishment of this onerous assignment. We equally welcome the input and participation of the general public on any aspect of the matter under investigation. In the same vein, we call on the members of the press to be fair, understanding, and exhibit professionalism in the coverage and dissemination of information to the public on this investigation. This call is germane as any investigation of this magnitude, which is highly technical and complex in nature, require that all the relevant individuals, corporate bodies, both local and international, as well as government agencies, to make a written and oral presentations. However, in some cases, some of the affected parties will try to frustrate or pose some difficulties for the success of the investigation. In that case, the committee will know the best way to go. It is important to also emphasize here that this exercise is not meant to witch-hunt anybody, or blackmail or blacklist any MDA, company or individual, but is purely a fact-finding mission. Consequently, Honorable Speaker, Honorable colleagues, I want to humbly appeal and solicit for the intervention of the Honorable Speaker and any person or organization that tries to perpetrate any infraction. The House will not hesitate to take appropriate action, including invoking all the relevant provisions of the law to enforce compliance, irrespective of who is involved or his personal standing. Finally, on behalf of the members of the committee, I wish to thank the Honorable Speaker for finding us worthy to carry out this assignment. I want to assure you that we will justify the confidence reposed on us. It is now my honor and privilege to invite the Right Honorable Speaker, Right Honorable Femi Bajaber-Miller, heavily represented by the Right Honorable Deputy Speaker, Honorable Ahmed Idris Wasi, to inaugurate this special ad hoc committee. Thank you and God bless.
And boss, architects, Rabah, my bosses and colleagues, our invited guests, members of the media, all other persons here present, I want to recognize you all. By the special grace of God, say a very good morning and good afternoon. First, I appreciate the mercies of God for allowing us to be among the living and for the good health He has granted us. On behalf of the Speaker, House of Representatives, Honorable Femi Bajaber-Miller, I wish to pass the following comments. Deliberately, I would not like to read his own speech that was given to me, and it is for good reasons. First, to admonish my colleagues and brothers and our bosses that this is a very special assignment that will surely improve on our accountability, prosperity as a nation, and we believe that from the Constitution provision of what we also to uphold and protect, you have a lot to offer and you have a lot to do. I would have said there wasn't any much need for some of the statements made by my brother and colleague and boss about intimidation, because nobody should intimidate Nigeria. You are representing the country and you are representative of the country. You are here tasked to do this job on behalf of Nigerians. And so by the Constitution provision, which is the first instrument for any Nigerian to work with, and I will refer you to section 88, is very clear as to what they are expected to do. Section 88 states like this, that subject to provision of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, subject to provisions of this Constitution, each House of the National Assembly shall have powers by resolution published in its journal in the Gazette of the Government of the Federation to direct or cause to direct an investigation into any matter or things with respect to which it has power to make laws and conduct the conduct of affairs of any person authority, ministry, government, department charged or intended to be charged with any with the duty of responsibility. And then if you get to B, it says expose corruption, inefficiency, or waste in the execution and administration of laws within its legislative competence and in disbursement of funds property. This covers everything that you are supposed to be doing. And that should be our first guiding and your own instrument. And I don't see when you are applying this, who will come to intimidate you. By this, I want to charge you that you should do your job diligently with the fear of Almighty, and that beware that Nigerians are watching and God Almighty is watching you. And the most important thing is that we expect a very fine result. The committee members are craftily selected. That I want to believe that because of your integrity and honor are the reasons why the House, in its own wisdom, decided to bestow on you this responsibility. I think it will be of good interest for us, having known the quantum of money that has been expended so far between 2017 and 2017 and 2022. So far, 2021, 4.9 trillion is assumed to have been expended under this regime for the purpose of petroleum subsidy. And if you are to get the quantum of the estimation to date, what is assumed to have been expended is 6 trillion naira. So the money expended assumed is quite very much, is humongous, and I want to believe that in the spirit of accountability, without any attempt to malign anybody, from our duty as legislators, we are expected to do oversight, and this is part of the oversight, to ensure investigation when the need arises, which motion has already been given, and adequate notices have been publicized. I will say that I am displeased by the even attendance of those who are within the field. That is the beginning, I thought, of what you should have hammered on. And I think I am showing my displeasure, and on behalf of the House, my displeasure for those in authority who are supposed to be here to come and account for what they have done on behalf of Nigerians. Their absence speaks volume. And with this, I want to charge you and to ensure that nobody is spared, nobody is made to feel this above the law. We are all equal before this authority under God. And I want to assure you that the House will give you every cooperation to ensure the right thing is done for the interest of our country and for the benefit of our own people. This, you have to do your job diligently. Like you quoted, you are supposed to do it with the fear of God. And this is what we expect you to do. At the end of the day, we expect a very fine result that will come to the House for consideration. We are not insulting anybody, but I think I am displeased. I'm very much unhappy, and I'm expressing my own displeasure on behalf of the National Assembly. The absence, nobody has any excuse to tender. Take it. On behalf of the Speaker, respected colleagues, members, and then our invited guests, I want to inaugurate this committee, and the committee is hereby inaugurated for you to commence work. Thank you very much.
In his remarks, Chairman of the Ad hoc Committee, Honorable Ibrahim Almustapha described the absence of stakeholders as unfortunate, unacceptable, undemocratic, and an infraction on the separation of powers of the legislature in carrying out one of its legitimate functions of oversight. He noted that the exercise is not to blackmail or witch hunt anybody, but to find answers to so many questions by Nigerians and correct the wrongs.
Once again, sincerely welcome you to the second and crucial moment of this exercise, which is the technical session of the investigative hearing. As I pointed in my welcome speech, this exercise is a fact-finding mission on one of the most valuable sectors of the Nigerian economy, which the House, in its wisdom, mandated this committee to investigate the subsidy regime that characterized the petroleum sector with a view to arriving at a practicable and achievable solutions. Let me start by expressing the displeasure of the committee for the nonchalant attitude exhibited by some MDS, as well as some of the executive of the oil companies for non-compliance and honoring of this request of the committee to provide vital information on the subsidy granted by the federal government. This action is unfortunate, unacceptable, and condemnable, as it is undemocratic and an infraction of the separation of powers of the legislature in carrying out one of its legitimate functions, that is oversight functions. It is more worrisome that this happening during an era of change by the very people who should be the vanguard of the change mantra of this administration, but by treating a matter such of this with levity and contempt. It's also a great concern to us that at a time when the country is undergoing myriad of challenges, especially the current queues and hike in petroleum and diesel prices, which this ad hoc committee seeks to unveil and unravel and address, it is our belief that both of the legislature and the executive are to work together for a common goal, and I want to assure you that we are very serious about this national assignment, and all parties involved should treat it as such. This must not be condoned. May I remind you that this committee is not unmindful of the several provisions available to it by the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended, and if necessary, will not hesitate to enforce compliance to compel any person to honor its requests or invitations. Specifically, Section 88 and Section 89 of the Constitution, Sections 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7, 9, 11, and 12 of the Legislative Privileges Act, and will be constrained to invoke any of the relevant sections if need arise. I know for sure that if any of you were to be invited for a meeting as many times as possible in a day in the presidency, none of you will refuse to honor such invitation, no matter the time and number of frequency. So why should it be different here? I'm going to state the procedure. The procedure of this hearing would be in the following sequence. Any persons to speak will be required to take an oath by affirming or swearing with the Holy Quran for the Muslims and Holy Bible for the Christians. Thereafter, each person will be required to state his or her name, rank, the organization he represents, and address, and the duty he performs in that organization. Evidence given are done under oath, so we should be very mindful of what we say before this committee. Procedure will apply to both government officials and other oil captains. However, only those oil companies that made submission before now will be considered, while those with submissions now can do so to the Secretariat with their full contact addresses and the necessary information required to be given. NNPC should submit detailed information on oil companies and other parties involved in the crude oil swap, direct purchase agreement, and beneficiaries of those subsidies. So these are a prepared speech, and let me quickly, outside that, once again welcome you and to extend the appreciation of this committee for you. Understand there are about 6 stakeholders that appeared today: Hide Energy, Federal Revenue Service, Ondo, Mako, Nigerian Egypt, yes, and Sahara Oil. Am I right?
Our committee is investigating the 6 trillion naira assumed to have been spent between 2017 to 2021 regime for the purpose of petroleum subsidy. Reporting for Atlantic Television Network, I am Ada Ona Ifodu.